graveyard dirt. If you say that in a room with mixed company, you are going to get some very weird looks. Like, say it in front of your Aunt Susan, and she's going to like clutch her pearls. And it's like, calm down, Aunt Susan. I'm not practicing necromancy. I'm not trying to raise an army of the undead to take over Halloween Town. I'm not lighting the black flamed candle. I'm just trying to make my prosperity spell a little bit more effective. And that's really like what we're doing when those of us who use graveyard dirt use graveyard dirt. Because it's really potent and it's great for making your spell work a lot more potent. And that's what I want to talk about. Something like graveyard dirt really requires us to go into detail and give it our full attention. Because if you miss a step, or if you don't fully understand how to retrieve it or what to use it for, there's a really good chance that you could piss off somebody on the other side of the veil, and nobody wants that. And I'm gonna say right now that if you are a new witch or an inexperienced witch, using graveyard dirt is probably not going to be for you. However, we all start somewhere, and eventually, through practice, you're going to learn and become an experienced witch. So it doesn't hurt to watch these videos, just maybe don't put it into practice right now. Let yourself gain the experience and then put it into practice later once you've had time to grow and learn. That said, maybe click the like on this video and give me a follow so that the algorithm can bring you back. So, on to our graveyard dirt. Where do we take it from? Like, does any grave do? Can we just walk into a cemetery and just pick someone? It doesn't work like that, not really. The best options, depending on what spell you're going to use, is to pick somebody with a connection to you or somebody who you knew or was known to you, right? So if I were going to add graveyard dirt to a love spell or a protection spell, I would want to add the dirt from the grave of a family member, a loved one, a friend, somebody who passed that I had a strong connection with. The relationship that we had in life would amplify the spell if it were something like a love spell or a protection spell, because theoretically, we would be building on that love connection or the protection connection, because that person would have wanted to protect me in life or loved me in life. And hopefully that bond carried over through the veil into the next life. So those are your best options if that's the type of spell you're performing. If you are wanting to perform, say, a spell for creativity, an author, an artist, somebody who was known to you, maybe like you have an option or you're close to the gravesite of Oscar Wilde and you're a writer and you're looking for some kind of creativity input, you can always visit his gravesite. Now, you have to ask permission. If you don't know the person, you have to ask permission regardless, right? But we'll get into that later. But theoretically, for now, a famous artist like Picasso, a writer, Oscar Wilde, somebody who was just known for being incredibly creative, that's where you would want to draw your dirt from, a gravesite like that for that kind of spell. prosperity. Again, somebody who's known to you, a Rockefeller or something like that. Somebody who's known for being very prosperous, a great businessman or woman. That's where you want to get your dirt from. And the list goes on and on. If you've got a spell for it and you can think of somebody who was successful in that and you have access, that's where you would want to draw from. For the time being, that's what I want you to think about when you think about where to obtain your dirt, who you want to draw it from. Because you can't just walk into a cemetery or graveyard and say to yourself, that looks like an interesting stone. Let me go over there. And there is a point of intuition that you have to start developing. If you don't have any kind of medium gift, that you really start having to draw on intuition, and preferably a higher level of intuition when you start messing around with the use of graveyard dirt in your spell work. And again, we'll get into that. So you've decided who might be useful in your spell work, but you still have more work to do. Now it's time to go to the graveyard and approach the person themselves, right? Well, their grave. You go to the gravesite respectfully and you approach them. Address them respectfully as you would in life. Now that means if they're your grandfather, address them as your grandfather. You don't have to say Mr. Smith. You can say Grandpa. If, however, it's Oscar Wilde, you say Mr. Wilde. And then you explain to them why you're there, what you need, and why you need it. And then once you're done explaining, wait. Now, if you were somebody who was imbued with the gift of mediumship, then you're already going to know how to find your answer, right? But if you weren't, and you're basing this solely off of intuition, then you're going to have to look for your answer. And a good way to judge that is by the energy around you. If, once you're done speaking, the energy starts to turn cold, if it's negative, if you're starting to feel like you need to leave, that is a good indication that your request is being denied and it is time for you to go. In which case, you thank them for their time and you leave. If, however, the energy around you feels warm, welcoming, if you feel very comfortable, then chances are they are open to your request and you can continue on with your business. And what that means now is that you're free to take your graveyard dirt. However, you should never take more than like a handful. And this is the most important thing. You have to leave something as a thank you. It's something that is easily looked over, but it's so important that we say thanks because these are people that have passed on and they're giving us time and energy from beyond. And sometimes in a situation where they don't even know us, right? Also, it's a really great way to not get questioned by cemetery staff. So what I like to do is leave some flowers, like tulips, daffodils, something pretty that might come up annually as a reminder of my thank you. And the great part about that is you dig a little hole, you take your piece of graveyard dirt, you plant your flowers, you leave you put the rest of the dirt on top so that your flowers are planted pretty, and you've got the rest to take home with you in your little container, whatever you've brought to transport it. And that's basically it. I mean, I say that's basically it. Like, it's a very simple thing to do, but it's not. And it takes time and consideration. And you really have to pay attention to all of the pieces of the puzzle whenever you're trying to use this particular ingredient in your magic. Um, it's potent and it can really up your magical game, but there's a reason for that. It's not easy to obtain, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of skill on, the part of the witch to not infringe on somebody else's um rest and security and time and energy. And so take care when you're choosing who you want to approach. Take care when you're asking or making your request so that you're not infringing upon somebody else's rest. And make sure that you're really listening after you make the request so that you aren't taking without permission. And until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.